Yeah, and then after that meeting, I was attacked, and I took shelter in JNU. In a Meitei professor, what to say, in his room. So that was very shocking for me, and what I always try to, like find myself where to fit in the national queer society, because I often felt left out, and then I often felt a very, what to say, disconnected, honestly, because I have come from a region where there is a lot of diversity. In Northeast India is a very big region where it seems like a mini India, and the place where I reach, where I have touched, it even the fourth state even has a lot of social, cultural paradigm, which is very different from a state to another, and I find a lot of challenges while working there also, and in the context of these states, there are certain development. I'm talking about Manipur, and then in Manipur there were times where before the coming in of a Supreme Court NALSA judgment, we had certain progressive position for the Nupi Manbi community, because after I introduced this beauty parlor run by the transgender women, Trans Nupi Manbi, so people have started acknowledging our existence and the way how we contribute to the society in film company, and then the beauty culture. So after that, a certain political influences and the social structure has started attempting and targeting the community to push them to the closet again. So this is why, because Manipur is a very volatile society, and also it's there is a lot of contesting nationalism and groupism is there, and then these are very powerful peoples. These are leads by very powerful peoples, and even if we wanted to challenge, and if the India government has given certain laws in favor of the community, also the law seems toothless. It has no value. Because first of all, we have to understand the ground reality and the social structure, the political structure of the state. Otherwise, it will be very, we really find to the people who work in the ground really find to, find difficult to move forward. And in Nagaland, uh, because this tribal community, they already had this social belief, they already had this local law in the pre-colonial era, and people are still following that. And the Christian dominated regions, it's very difficult for the queer community to come out. And even in Shillong also, one of the local head member published in the newspaper that this is not in our culture, there is no transgender. Yeah. So like these are the things which is happening same in Nagaland also, and in my work when I first visited these two states, the first question which I received from the stakeholders like State Legal Services Authority was that there is no transgender, can you provide number for them? How can we work for a few number of peoples? And then I had a very difficult time to start mobilizing the community. For Meghalaya, it's okay because I have a few close friends who is ready to work with me, and my colleague who is here, Rebina, is also there, and we have been working together for all these years long. So I have a very close familiarity and then close connection with the community out there in Meghalaya. But in Nagaland, I found it very new. And they asked me to provide the number, and I said, this is the government accountability, this is the responsibility of the government to do a survey, a formal survey, to find out the number of transgender peoples, because this comes from the, from a apex court, Supreme Court, and you cannot deny this direction. I said this. And even that also, they were not taking it seriously, and they always try to neglect the issues. The proposal which we have submitted like two, 3 times the similar letter for the implementation of Supreme Court NALSA judgment, to organize the state-level sensitization workshop. One was done in Meghalaya, luckily, but for the Nagaland, they're always postponing the date. And then, like many of the several times when I visited this social welfare department and the other relevant department, they sometimes tell me that they forgot where they've kept the the letter, the document. You know, even the filing process also, it's not in order and it's not well synchronized. So it's very difficult, and this is the reason why I sometimes feel frustrated, and I always question how far this law which is very monotonous, is going to serve the community, indigenous trans community in the Northeast. Because recently there was a crisis happening. It was in August 2000, it was a public meeting organized by a fat-based organization, very powerful. And then they have come up a resolution telling that transgender is not in our culture and they should stop, continue participating in a very big cultural space called Lai Harauba. It's a cultural space for Sanamahi religion. And then when we look back to the historical roots, the gender plurality, the gender multiplicity was well accepted there, and they were called, the community were called Faida, which will be elaborately deliberated by my colleague Ribani. Because why we need to understand and we need to relook on the past of indigenous culture is that they were very progressive, but due to the layers of colonization, we have lost our culture, we have lost our identity, the coming of Hinduism, the British colonial, and then all the setup were lost, and then new setup, and then new infrastructure, and the new kingdom come in the picture. And then after that, all got assimilated, the cultures and everything. And people started thinking that these peoples come out very recently. It's not a part of culture because it's totally erased from their memory. Our Aboriginal culture, identity, the inclusive society, our belief system has totally erased from their memory. This is the reason why in that public meeting, one advocate who is working in High Court has misinterpreted the Supreme Court NALSA judgment, telling that the anti-discriminatory law was translated into a criminal propaganda. The 9 direction, was it 11 or 9 direction? In each and every line, the way he interpreted, and the audience were all Azad peoples. So we have this fear that if all the Azad peoples grabs this completely and they started following this, then it will become again a very contrary to the social outlook of Métis society, which is very dangerous in future. So where is this law is very effective? Because the first one which he conveys that this is not our law. Transgender Nupi Manbi is not there. It's a very recent phenomenon because their name is not there in the Supreme Court NALSA judgment. It has talked about Kina, it has talked about Sip Sakti, Aravanis, Jokapas, all these things, but Nupi Manbi is not there. So this is not our law. It's not applicable in Manipur society. So it's, these are the things, but actually we didn't give up. We fought with them, we challenged them, and then our group, a few of my sisters, we came together and drafting things, and then I got some material from her, and then we are developing a draft and then trying to submit it to the State Human Rights Commission and the other one in the United Nations Special Rapporteur. So with this, I would like to pass microphone to Rubani.